What's up guys? Today's Staples episode is going to be talking about the deadlift. Alright, so the deadlift has gotten a lot of flack over the years for kind of being a potential dangerous exercise. A lot of people do injure themselves with the deadlift. So be it. That doesn't mean that we should just take that movement completely out of our program. Everyone should learn how to do it correctly and use different forms of it. You don't necessarily need to be doing it with the straight bar unless you're a competitive athlete in powerlifting. The hinge is one of the most fundamental movements we could teach other human beings, utilizing your posterior chain. A lot of people say we don't want to lift with our back. We do want to lift with our back to an extent, mostly the posterior chain, hamstrings, glutes, and back. That's what it's there for. So I'll do my best not to rant too much in the video and show you guys everything you could possibly want to know with the deadlift. It is a pulling movement because we're using a lot of the pulling muscles associated with the body, but people kind of get carried away and use that pull a little bit too much literally. Instead of kind of bracing themselves and pushing this weight off the ground, standing up tall, they just yank the bar and pull with their body in an unnatural way. A great one to teach people who are learning how to hinge is the kettlebell deadlift. We're able to kind of keep that weight a little bit closer to our body and learn the hinge a bit more safely. I'll walk you guys through how to set up a proper, normal, conventional deadlift. First things first, we want to step into it and get that barbell to cut our feet just in half. You know, if you're a much taller person, the barbell might be a bit further away from you. This ensures it's not too far or too close to you. From that position, the first thing I would think about is breaking from the hips. So I'm pushing my hips back, keeping my shin vertical while keeping a neutral spine. From there, hands on the bar, grab a good grip. Big mistake I see a lot, people grabbing the bar way too narrow for their stance. After that, we're gonna drop our hips, keeping tension on the bar throughout our whole body, especially in the midfoot. What we're looking for is getting our armpits just on top of the barbell. Okay, another big misconception, a lot of people do think our hips need to be all the way down and our back at almost like a 45-degree angle. It really depends on your anatomy. All right, after finding that position, you're gonna pretty much put some pressure into the bar, brace yourself. Try to think about pushing the floor away, standing up tall, and humping the bar with your hips. You're trying to get the hip as close to the bar as possible. Your spine shouldn't really move per se. It shouldn't bend more than it already is. It should keep that position the entire time through the lift. This ensures we're using the right muscles and cueing the sequence in a proper fashion. Another big one is breathing with the deadlift. A lot of people are unfamiliar with breathing and the bracing technique for it. Personally, I like taking a big air before I get down into position. It's much easier for me to get a big air and brace myself up here than it is to be down right over the barbell trying to breathe in a lot of air. All right, so when I am at the top of the lift, I breathe out, but before going down, I breathe back in and get that brace for the way down. We don't want to let out all of our air because that's technically helping to support our neutral spine. You don't want to be pulling 400 or 500 pounds. On the way up, you're good. Breathe it all out, and the way down, you're gonna fold over like a card. All right, the next topic will be grip. Normally, pronated grip, your hands going over, is going to be the more challenging type of grip. Reason being, that barbell is free to roll out of your fingers. It's a great way to build your grip strength and try to keep things even with the deadlift. The other grip would be having one over and one under, a mixed grip. Again, this has received a lot of flack from people because it could lead to some imbalances. But the reality of things, everybody in this world is asymmetrical. So if you are considering the mixed grip, I would say definitely try for it, but switch up each side, set by set, or even day by day. If you find that one side's getting tight of your body, then the other one, then there's likely something else causing that huge imbalance, and probably not just your grip. Another option of grip is hook grip, where you pretty much grab on to the thumb and use that as a hook the entire lift. Used widely by Olympic weightlifters. So next we'll dive into some misconceptions. The first one being keeping your chest up as much as you can and pulling your shoulder blades back the entire time of the lift. It's not very realistic that you can pinch your shoulder blades together the whole time while lifting a load from the ground, especially in the deadlift. So we can counter this one with not just pulling your shoulders back, but keeping your lats packed down and try not to let your shoulders move forward. You don't have to squeeze a pencil behind your back with this one, but you don't want that upper back to move. You want tension. All right, the next misconception with the deadlift is going to be about hip position. A lot of people do want that textbook form that you see with the deadlift. You have someone with their hips nice and low, their back is about a 45 degree, you can see their chest and they just stand up. This could be true with someone with very short femurs, like short legs and a longer torso. Put someone in the mix who has very long legs, short torso, there's no way in hell they're gonna do a proper deadlift looking like that. It's just not natural for their body. Their hips are going to be a little bit higher, which is completely normal and fine and probably better for them. So we'll go into some dysfunctions with the deadlift or improper form and a couple quick fixes with it. There's going to be a lot of different ones. I'm going to try to boil it down and be as general as I can. So some lower back pain could be a cause of hamstring and hip limitations. If either one of these are tight or not mobile, you can expect that another muscle in the chain, in our case probably the back, would take a little bit more of that load. Your T-spine mobility and posture also have a big play with this one as well. Having the option of using different barbells, different apparatuses with a deadlift, don't be afraid to shorten the range of motion if you're not ready to go from the ground. A big tool that us trainers use a lot are rack pulls or block pulls, where you're pulling the barbell and weights from an elevated surface. This way you can kind of build the deadlift from the top up instead of trying to grab from the bottom and lose it. We spoke about hip stability and hamstring mobility especially. Just because your hamstrings are tight, don't overlook your hip flexors and psoas. Remember, your psoas does attach to your spine. So if you do have wonky hips, this should be kind of looked at before we even try to attempt going heavy on the deadlift. If we look at hamstrings, we're not necessarily needing to lick our knee or something like that. We just need to be at 90 degrees with the body and be functional in that range for the deadlift. And we spoke about T-spine, flexibility and mobility. We do need a lot of mobility with the upper back and the ability to pack down the lats and lock in all of that tension. Instead of just stretching the psoas over and over and over, why don't we do a dead bug with some bands right around the feet to strengthen the psoas and get it working the way it should. Hamstrings, a great mobility exercise, is when you put your leg up on the rack and you just do some marches with the other leg up and down. Great before a workout and kind of keeps it dynamic. For the T-spine, we said we need some mobility in the upper back. My advice would be some rotational movements. We don't get enough of those. We kind of stick to just extension. Some rotational, as well as learning how to pack down the lats with maybe a band. All right, so that's today's video with the deadlift. Hopefully you guys got a couple things from it and gained some insight. Don't be afraid to perform this movement. Always look for alternatives, and I'll see you in the next one.